of the Arts in Uptown Charlotte. A study done a couple years ago by Americans for the Arts estimated Charlotte-Mecklenburg's arts and culture industry generated more than $450 million in economic activity a year. One of the centerpieces of that is the Bechtler Museum of Modern Art. Earlier this week, we talked about the famous Firebird that stands outside the museum. It's probably the most Instagrammed landmark in the city. It's been there for just about 15 years, just like the museum itself. The Bechtler opened in January of 2010. The art was a family's gift to the community. Now, if you haven't been or haven't been for a while, we wanted to see what is going on inside now and what's coming next. We met up with Executive Director Todd Smith, and he showed us around to talk past, present, and future.
So we're up on the 4th floor now of the museum, and this is our changing exhibition hall. And currently we have an exhibition of work by a living artist named Claire Rojas. The work is inspired by mythology. It's inspired by her strong interest in the ecology, and as well as feminism.
The difference between modern art and sort of the traditional classic art, does that take an educational process even for those who come to the museum?
You know what, we try to bring people along. So for us, we think modernism really starts around 1900.
Okay.
So when you think about Picasso and the way he challenged the idea of how we see the world, it wasn't just what you saw in front of you, but it was how you thought about the world too.
Some people can get intimidated, right? And coming into an art gallery, even like this one here, what do you want them to know?
Just ask yourself questions, and we have really wonderful gallery attendants who are well trained to answer questions. From the most obvious question to the most arcane, we're here to just be a resource. So don't ever feel intimidated when you go into a museum here or anywhere in the world to ask questions and to be open.
We have like school kids that are in here
Great
today.
School kids coming in, yeah.
Yeah, do you see their eyes sort of light up when they see these works and they have questions? What do you see?
And I think, honestly, students sometimes have better questions than adults because they're willing to ask them. So even if you might not appreciate what the artist is doing, at least you're saying they're trying to do something, and they're trying to either show us the world as it exists or a different way of thinking about the world.
I've heard maybe that you're rethinking sort of the focus of the types of artists you're trying to bring in?
Well, we're expanding it. And so the first decade here was really about showcasing the Bechtler's incredible collection. It was a gift to the city, and that's for us to show as we want. But now we're trying to showcase artists that were inspired by artists in that collection.
You mentioned the Bechtlers, obviously, the name of the museum is right out front. For people who don't know, they were not from Charlotte, right?
Correct. So Hans and Bessie were based in Zurich, built an incredible collection of art along with the rest of their family in Zurich. And then Andreas, their son, moved to Charlotte with his family in the 1970s to run the family business in Charlotte for North America. And so as a result, he raised his family here, and when his parents passed away and he inherited part of the collection, it was his intention that it be donated to the city to make this museum.
Put into words what that has meant for him to do that.
You know what, we're the only museum dedicated to European modern art in the South. So for that, it is the collection that most museums in the American South do not have great holdings in European 20th century art. So this really puts Charlotte on the art map.
You're hitting 15 years now with the museum itself. What is next, for this place?
I think it's continuing to push the boundaries of what we show, how we show it, how we interpret our own collection, allowing people to think differently about the collection that we hold for Charlotte, and then also putting the museum more on the map internationally for hosting major traveling exhibitions from around the world, bringing them to Charlotte, again, to complement what the Mint and the Gantt are doing.
New exhibits every few months, so it's worth checking out if you haven't been there for a while. All right,